Welcome back to Morning Express. It is now time for The Way It Is. Remember, a reminder of our question of the day. We're asking you whether the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has the capacity to stop pre-election violence. Does IEBC have the capacity to stop pre-election violence? That is the basis of our conversation this morning. Do engage us at Morning Express KTN. We'll be sampling your views and comments. But remember, we're also inviting you to engage us here in studio. Our phone lines will be open for you to call in and discuss this with us. And in studio, we have lawyer Ambrose Weda, who will be discussing this with us. We'd like, however, to apologize. Mombasa Senator Hassan Omar will not be able to make it on the show this morning. Weda, many thanks for joining us on Morning Express. All right, so let's begin with our question of the day. To you, yes. Do you think IEBC has the capacity to stop pre-election violence?
IEBC was never fashioned or made to stop any form of violence. We have the tendency to give people job A and require them to do job B. They have no capacity, they have no legal framework, they do not have the resources. If somebody is fighting inside the Kombewa, where I come from, in a party nomination and with my colleague down there, how would even IEBC come in? And how would they know?
Isn't this the electoral body that is supposed to set out rules for the election?
Yes, it is the electoral body that is supposed to set the rules. But when we are talking about violence, we are talking about a very high-octane engagement that sometimes even the police cannot deal with.
Okay.
Something that requires massive resources. Something that requires a legal framework and consequences. Now that the IEBC has not been given.
Right. So then who do we take to account in terms of pre-election violence? Who is supposed to stop this?
That's the work of the police. And the IEBC can only report to the police and say, look, there's this which took place, please investigate and find out and let us know. And then IEBC can only deal feebly by either trying to punish. But again, you punish, somebody will be in court, because they do not have power to either bar people or punish them without due process. So if you look at our legal framework, we are trying to adduce a job which was not given to IEBC to the same IEBC.
All right, and we'll be discussing how then we can solve this pre-election violence. IEBC has already announced that primaries will be taking place between 13th and 26th of April. But going by what we've seen so far, we've seen violence in Migori, we've seen violence in Funyula. Just yesterday or the day before yesterday, we saw violence between the Kapsret and Keses aspirant member of parliament. Several people have been injured, several people have been declared dead. And it's also important to note that party primaries are really a rehearsal of the real thing. And so if this is the environment surrounding the primaries, it's likely to be the environment surrounding the election. What does this violence, this string of violence that we've seen mean right now?
Some party tickets in some areas are very highly priced. And that is why you see that in a particular area, people fight. And this has also to do with, if you take like Luland, for example, an ODM ticket is almost a guarantee you're elected. If you go to Central, you will find that if a strong man is in this party, somebody will go to the Flower Party. And people will still consider you, and you can win. Now, the other side, it would be like you're betraying Baba. So the high-priced nature of the tickets automatically generate all manner of tactics that are used by candidates to get the ticket. And one of them is to intimidate, the other one is to beat, the other one is to bribe. And you add this to the fact that the party primaries are not organized well. Even as we talk today, I don't think even the candidates in various countries, various constituencies or wards, they know the returning officers, they know the polling stations, they don't know. So there are rumors going on. You saw the other day, Madam Ongoro. Madam Ongoro had defected to Wiper. And then it turned out it was just rumors that her opponent, my classmate, TJ Kajwang, had been given a ticket. direct nomination. That was a hoax. So you can see how deep the rumors are. And these rumors is what make people even kill each other.
Right. Now, let's just stop there and put it in the context of the parties themselves. Because like you say, very high-priced tickets, very high-priced positions. And so the first thing would be to intimidate, to beat, to bribe, all of which are electoral offenses. Within the context of the parties themselves, do they have the capacity to tame this?
Now, the parties do not have the capacity to tame some of this. First of all, they encourage some of these things. How do they encourage them? By having a chaotic nomination process where people are kept in suspense until the last day. Now, that is a recipe for the chaos. Then second, some people are so, the party, their blood is so, the party, or the party is their blood so much, that even when you contest against them, you know in your heart that you will not get the party ticket. Let me give you, for instance, we have a constituency like Bondo constituency. Mheshimiwa Oburu Odinga is going against Mheshimiwa Ochanda, the incumbent MP. Oburu Odinga is Raila Odinga's brother. And his position is that this seat was Jaramogi's seat. You get it? Now, if you are waiting for the ticket, in all honesty, chances that you will get that ticket, it's almost out. That is one. As Secretary General, in 2007, I ran against Professor Nyong'o, Secretary General of ODM. Honorable Raila assured me, he said, if you win, I give you. I was naive then. I thought if you win, you get it.
Right.
These days, I know, if I was running against a Secretary General of a party, I would just walk away, the way Aweti has walked away from my friend as Anomar, because they know the reality. So parties contribute to this violence by keeping people in suspense and not organizing themselves well. Secondly, they do not punish anybody.
And that's what I want to speak about next, because today we have several people appearing before the ODM disciplinary committee, the likes of Joho, the likes of Obado, Elizabeth Ongoro, TJ Kajwang. And the question is, these are top dogs within ODM. And we've had the ODM promise that they will take stern action against those who are perpetrating violence. Is there that likelihood that we will see any action taken?
Are you telling me Zani can take action against Joho? She will simply be told, you are being used by Jubilee. You are trying to finish Baba. You are part of the Jubilee brigade that are finishing Joho. So you don't expect much. There will be a fine here, something to show that ODM is fighting, but it's trying to put it out in order. But some of these people, there will be no major action. It is a PR exercise to show that action is being taken. By actual action being taken, it's not there. Maybe if you take like the Migori violence, if they don't like the incumbent governor, that's when they'll say, we will not give you the ticket. We have found you guilty. But it is not to get the right thing done. It is what is called drama, to show the IEBC and the Kenyan people that action is wicked. But it's not possible.
I mean, so Kenyans are suffering as we speak. This string of political violence we've seen is really creating a lot of tension. If IEBC has only the mandate of setting the rules and not doing anything else, if political parties who are also mandated to curb this seemingly do not have the power to do so, and the police also seemingly do not have the power to do so, then who do Kenyans hold accountable?
No, the police have the power. The IEBC are in a dilemma. They have power to deal with the parties. You get it? To punish the parties and some of their candidates.
Does it mean then that IBC has not come out strongly enough?
No, I understand their dilemma. You punish ODM, you'll be told, this is a Jubilee IBC. We have been warning you all along. This is Jubilee IBC. You try to punish Jubilee person, they'll be telling the chairman, we knew you are an ODM person until we made you, so you are biased. So they are also in an internal dilemma. That's why they are trying to shepherd their way also easily.
But why is that? The question is, why is that? Because IBC, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, why is IBC not independent?
The IBC is not independent because it is too young. It takes long and knowledge and experience to be independent. If you talk now, the IBC commissioners, they don't know where Tarakaniti is. They don't know where Gwasi is. You get it? And they rely on government machinery to know some of these things. Now, this election time, they will be shepherded. If you go to ODM to show you, they'll show you what is nice for them. If you go to Jubilee to show you, they'll show you what is working in their favor. So because we have taken over the years to keep on throwing out the commissioners, after every election, we throw you out, we throw you out, we throw you out. Do you know what we have resulted with? What we have received? People who are afraid. People who are scared. And already the drums are being beaten that these ones may not survive after the next election. If NASA was to win, Jubilee will throw them out. If Jubilee was to win, the remnant of NASA will throw them out. It is almost obvious. So they live in fear. That is why anything that can show their bias, they try to avoid. They cannot fine or ban ODM or some NASA candidates or some Jubilee candidates today. There will be war and fire because it is a creation of politicians. And these politicians, when it comes to their interest, they can even again sit down and disband the IBC. They themselves, both sides.
And speaking of the interest of politicians, because you have described the primaries and nominations as shambolic, you've also accused political parties of also fueling the pre-election violence that we're seeing, so to speak. But Jubilee has been very adamant in assuring aspirants of free and fair nominations. I understand on Friday there will be a meeting with all aspirants just to take them through the nomination process. But this free and fair election, you have already accused parties of fueling this violence. How is this likely to play out within Jubilee? Now,
Jubilee, I think the president is trying to ensure, the president and Mheshimiwa Atoyo and the team, they're trying to have a free and fair nomination. And that is the way for us to win. Why? In the Jubilee-dominated areas, they don't worship the party ticket. So you can take Jubilee ticket and give it to whether in Kiambu as governor, and they will vote for Kabogo or Waititu on ODM ticket. They have no problem. You get it? So to ensure that they don't run into the problems like Puria Buri being elected on ODM in a deeply Jubilee zone, they say, let's have it fair so that we get the most popular man. In Luoland, okay, if you gave Waititu ODM in Kisumu, they will give him.
That is very contestable, very debatable.
They do. When Baba comes and says, 6, peace. That's why you can never find Jubilee candidates, Jubilee MPs, or whatever, or TNA, or URP, mainly Lowland. But you find them in Meru. The first time, when Honorable Raila formed the NDP in 1997, there was a man here in Limuru called Nyanja. Nyanja, I think, had acquired a very bad reputation. So no party within the Kikuyu hegemony wanted to give him a ticket. He went to this, they rejected him. He went to this, they rejected him. He went to this, eventually he took the NDP ticket. And he went at one. So he was the only NDP MP from Central. And the only one, apart from the Luos, who are in the party. It shows you that here they don't give a damn about the ticket. I saw during the by-election where Kuria was elected, they almost humiliated the TNA party. They had to be cooled and told, please. So you don't conduct free and fair nominations. So many people will be elected in Kano, and Kano will be saying, you see, we told you we are the most popular party. So to avoid all that, you do very credible elections. And then secondly, you need a lot of resources.
Now,
Jubilee has resources.
These very credible elections, because on the dailies this morning we also have Raphael Tuju saying that they're trying to conduct a nomination process similar to what the electoral body would do. But for them to do that, they would need more funds, which they're soliciting from the aspirants and party members?
Yes, the aspirants, I think they have given almost 800 million. Donors, there will be donors. We will be chipping in. Kidogo, 500,000, a million here. We want credible elections so that when NASA is still dancing and flip-flopping on who is the candidate, we are ready for them. The day they mention the fellow, we will be on them immediately.
Right, let's go back to the fair nominations that you assuring that Jubilee will have, because still on the paper this morning, we have this cartoon on the Standard newspaper and the media seemingly asking aspirants, so what will help your party? What will help you win the nominations? And the first thing they dish out is money, right?
Yes.
We've had... It's a battle of how deeper your pockets are, how much money you have. This has also been reported within Jubilee. Does that still guarantee free and fair nominations?
Now, let me tell you this. Election process is a resource result-oriented process. It requires you to have resources, especially when you have good candidates. There are 3, but they are very good. How do you differentiate? Do you have a crybaby who is always crying all the time, or who wants employment? Some people are seeking these elective positions as employment. In other words, they are so broke that they are waiting to earn the salary. Then there are others who want to go and serve, and they just get the name. So it is resource-oriented exercise, and money flows freely. That I can assure you, it flows freely. Where money flows, there is fairness, but you don't expect 100% fairness. Fairness will be about 60%.
Fairness is fairness, where there can't be 50% fairness. 60%. Fairness is fairness. So if it's
now,
not fair, it's not
that's
fair.
Why I'm asking you to divide it. Where money flows, some people, like, you know the clerks, the nomination clerks and so on and so forth. If you visit them in the evening, they still have some papers. You can talk to them and they add your tally.
All right.
Others, you can also tell the agents of the other fellow, if we are with you. Now, in the evening, you are struggling. You have not even brought your agents something to drink. I'll go there and buy them a drink, and then they cross over, and those things happen.
All right, but let's get a different opinion. Michael.
Allow me to bring in Onyango Law into this conversation. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, Onyango Law, this morning. We're just talking about what is happening, and you recently moved to ODM, and we've seen there's been a few incidences of violence in ODM areas, especially as we're getting closer to the nominations. Your comments on that, first of all, and what may be the cause of this sporadic violence? Onyango.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mike. Let me put it this way, that the stakes seem to be so high that the players are not willing to give a chance. In Migori, especially, where we had a flare of very, very ugly violence, the unfortunate thing is that the sitting governor was invaded by a horde of politicians from the Orange Democratic movement, and he claims that he was not informed of the intended visit. This on its own, I don't know whether it is lawful or a legal requirement that when you want to visit a county, you must inform the governor. But it all boils down to the intense lobbying and fighting for the party ticket, which seems to be a guarantee to winning the elections in this region. Though I would beg to differ from my learned colleague and friend, Mr. Weda, when he says that winning an ODM ticket in this region is a guaranteed win in the general elections. The governor in question himself is a PDP governor, having won the elections in an ODM-dominated zone. In Weda's and my own county of Kisumu County, we have Mr. Olago Alwoch, we have Mr. Onyango Koyo, all who came through parties which were not ODM and vanquished ODM candidates who had held the flag of the ODM leadership. So for us to avoid chaos, we must promise a free, fair, transparent, and credible elections, and not only promise, we must take tangible steps that are convincing to the participants that there is every intention and ability to conduct free, fair, credible, and transparent elections.
Maybe let me just stop you a little bit, Onyango Law, and first of all find out from you, what do you think is the cause of this violence? And now that you've decamped from Jubilee into ODM, what is your take on that? Is that the party that you are foreseeing to help you, or rather to be part of, to become member of parliament for the area that you're seeking the ticket?
Mike, let us make this clear. I did organize the TNA general elections in the last elections, and they were largely, if not entirely, peaceful. ODM as a party does not condone and did not perpetuate the violence. In fact, the violence was perpetuated or actually put in place by a PDP member who has joined ODM, a latecomer like myself, who said that the consent was required for the visit in that area. As you may be aware, ODM has already summoned them so that disciplinary measures may be taken. Let us not be quick to blame parties when individuals take responsibility for their untoward acts. I am ready to contest in ODM. We are working in Kisumu County, where I am contesting, to ensure that everybody is confident about the entire process of producing elected leaders in this region.
All right. And what action are you expecting within the party to be taken against those who possibly perpetrate violence? Is there anything the party can do, really?
There are a lot. You remember when I was the Secretary General, Mike, I did even recommend expulsion of members from the party. The party can fine individuals and fine them heavily, that they find it untenable to engage in violence. The party can suspend you. The party can disqualify you from taking part in the elections, so you go and get another party. ODM as a party has a range of remedies or sanctions that it can meet on the individuals who try to engage in acts of violence. And my recommendations would be, were this to be established that a particular individual actually engaged in acts of violence, let him be disqualified. The problem is the myriad interest in political contests that individuals who are innocent could as well be blamed for the violence.
Okay. All right. Before we let you go, are you expecting that the nominations are going to be free and fair in ODM?
In all fairness, in honest comments, I have come back to ODM after a 4-year sojourn in TNA. We were originally in ODM with WEDA. And I've been surprised with the level of change that has taken place in the party ever since I left. I am confident and trusting that the elections will be fair, credible, and transparent. And I'm ready to bite the bullet should I lose them.
Okay, you say that there has been incredible change. Is that for the better or worse?
For the better. In fact, for the first time, or let me say since I came back, I am surprised. All of us candidates, we have been summoned, and at every point we are being asked on our comments on the steps that the party is taking towards the elections. For instance, when the commissioners for Nyanza, for Kisumu County were appointed, we were involved. When they were brought back to us to be told these are the ones who have been appointed, we were involved. And also we are going to be educated in matters to do with the appeal system, how the appointment of clerks will be done, to which we have been invited. So I am persuaded that the system now is a bit much, much better than what we left before.
All right. Thank you very much, Onyango Law, there for joining us telephonically. And I'll come back to you, Weda and Michelle. But let me also take a call from Ogla Karani, who is also a member of ODM. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, Ogla. It's been a while since we heard from you. And your comments possibly on the violence that we see rocking the ODM party. Ogla.
Thank you, Mike. I should mention that I'm driving. I hope I'm hard.
And I hope you're safe. I hope you're safe.
No, I'm okay. I'm very safe.
Okay.
Let me start by welcoming my brother Onyango Lo back home. We still have a day to come and celebrate at your studio. He's coming back home. Anyhow, concerning the violence that are rocking all political parties. It's not only ODM. We just experienced some in ODM in the recent past, but we also have seen many violent in acts that included TNA and all of them. The reality of the matter is that this is a very high intense competition. But I can assure you, just like Onyango Lo has spoken, ODM is putting up every measure to prevent more violence and to discipline anyone that will be found to have either incited or participated in the violence.
Okay, and what action do you expect to be taken to those who've participated? Because evidently, it looks like there is not much the party has done in the past. So what should we expect?
The party has done so much. Mike, recently, ODM was a party that even expelled members of parliament or candidates who had been seen to be working closely with other parties. ODM disciplinary committee is a very strict disciplinary committee, and I know that they will take action. They will do thorough analysis, and the party will take action. There will be serious disciplinary measures on anyone who will have been involved in any violence or something.
So are you saying that we can hold you to account should there be no action taken, that you'd have to swallow your words of what you've said, Ogla?
If there will be no action taken, it will be because of reason, but I can assure you there will be action taken.
All right.
Why would a whole disciplinary committee call people if they do not have an intention to take any action? Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Ogla Karani, for joining us this morning. And remember, you are also welcome to participate in the conversation. For those of you who are watching us from wherever you might be, do let us know what your thoughts are. Of course, we are looking at, the violence that is rocking political parties and the stakes being high. Whether we've always maintained that it seems like the stakes are higher for politicians than it is for Kenyans. Really, Kenyans have nothing to lose per se, depending whoever goes into office.
I think the stakes are high because you get a big name, and most of these offices are high salaries. In fact, part of the problem is the salaries. You reduce the salaries, some people will not go. If you want to see it is because of the salaries, just look at the number who want to be MCAs. Quite many distinguished people are going to be MCAs. And when you ask them, they tell you, they take home almost 500,000. They take home. It is what you take home. It is not that there's work to be done.
But I think what Michael is driving at is the fact that, Kenyans really do not need to engage in violence because of this, because at the end of the day, after the elections, life still continues. So this is for the politicians. They're doing this for their own selfish gains. There's no need or any reason really why Kenyans should be down there fighting.
Yes, you see, there will be no politician without people. And there'll be no politician with people doing your bidding. And how do they do your bidding? They do your bidding according to your whims. So even when people go out to fight, it is always arranged, organized. We will ensure that when Gitonga speaks, you bring up my placard and you say whether. And if they joke around, or if there are people joke around, then we will deal with them. That's how it's arranged. It is never spontaneous, that.
Weda, one of the reasons why we have this sporadic violence not ending, and it comes again and again, is possibly because the parties that are involved do not take action, including Jubilee Party. We had some violence, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, even within the party, but nothing is done to those who perpetrate violence.
I think when we started this, I told you that if you take, for instance, the committee that's supposed to take action and the people who are involved, you find the committee is so small, the people who are involved are so high.
In terms of
numbers
or position?
I've just given you an example like Joho and Zani. You try to attack Joho today, it will be you are a Jubilee mole being used to continue finishing the governor. So you have to tread very carefully. That fits well even in Jubilee.
So at the end of the day, basically, we're saying that Kenyans are helpless. Political parties will not do anything about it. IBC has done what it can by setting the rules. So Kenyans just have to contend with the pre-election violence?
No. They don't have to contend with it. As long as Kenyans stop being tied to political parties, there'll be decency. The moment you know that if I took Jubilee ticket, that is no guarantee I would win, there will be a big change. Even the names that my friend Onyangolo mentioned, they were all in CORD. These parties were in CORD. It is unlike where people like Mpuri Aburi were elected in CORD parties from purely Jubilee zones. The moment, If you want to see, look at Central Province, where the ticket alone does not guarantee you. So there's a bit of decency. If, for instance, today we were fighting, Martha Karua was fighting for the Jubilee ticket with the former Minister for Devolution, Waiguru, there would be fire. But because they are going to meet only during the IEBC organized elections, and anybody has a chance, you will not be disadvantaged that you are not in Jubilee. There's a bit of quiet. So it is us to grow up and stop being beholden to parties, and we elect leaders. So you come, you attack people, you kill people, we decide, okay, at that rate, you are not going in, whether you are in Jubilee.
I'd like us to move on. I'd like us to move on to the next topic, but before we do that, let's take a caller. Michael is calling in from Mombasa. Michael, good morning. What's your question or comment?
Good morning, Michelle, and good morning to Michael and our panelists out there. Yeah. Now, mine is about the political violence that we are talking about right now. We understand that this is across the board. There's just one fault, and first of all, I would like to talk about the media. I'm a very keen follower of what goes on in the mainstream media, and the one thing that is glaring is that we're looking at parties, and I can see that your observation about this violence is lopsided. That's a fact. I've seen that you've dwelled so much on ODM, but the fact is that we just saw violence, and we understand that the Jubilee was coming, was just about to be, they were trying to come up with election votes. And you can see virtually in all these counties that they are trying to do that, there was just violence. Probably the absence of death could be the difference. But the truth is that this violence is across the board. Now, how do you stop it? Let's first of all understand that these political parties are yet to mature. That's the fact. We know that we've got a long way to go before we come into full political maturity, like it happens probably in America or the US. But another thing, let's look at the resources, for instance. We can understand that we have, while probably the Jubilee Party, which is the ruling coalition, they got other resources like the security. And you can see how the security behaves when they go to the opposition parties, I beg your pardon, opposition rallies. We have seen it. We have seen how they react when they see Joho. We have seen how they react even when they see Raila in the street. It's different from the way they react when they see Uhuru or Ruto. So we understand that we have some kind of probably there is an inconsistency in how the security organs are organized to participate in processes that involve the opposition and those processes that involve the ruling coalition. Now, for the way forward is that we have to invest more in political parties. We understand that we have some probably almost the allocation to political parties, which is a constitutional requirement, is a big problem. So we have others who are favored, now looking at which divide you are. So these are things that we should look into as a nation, not just as political parties, as a nation. So now then, we have another issue. If you look at political parties that are so popular in certain regions, then the stakes must be high. And I've heard a policy by Mr. Weda suggesting that we don't have that kind of contestation in probably in parts of central Kenya. That's a pure lie, and he knows that. We have seen people scrambling. I mean, I just talked about it just a while ago. We have seen what transpired in Nyeri, Murang, and all that, and that was just about who is going to preside over the elections. Then what does it tell you when it comes to the nomination proper? The stakes must be higher. So, I mean, let's look at it as a national issue, not as a party issue, because that's not the right observation. So, if we take it to be that this is a national issue that collectively as a nation we got to see the way forward, then definitely we're going to find out a solution. But if you look at it as a regional or a party issue, then definitely we're heading nowhere.
Michael from Mombasa, I think we've got your point, and he says it's not a party issue, it's a national issue, but also mentions that it's not just an ODM issue, it's also Jubilee Party that is involved in some of the violence, especially at a party level. But allow me to also read some of the responses coming through, and I've got Evelyn who says IEBC is not a security organ. That is why we have the police force to maintain and keep peace. Again, I think moving the violence subject or issue from from IEBC. Maybe they don't have the capacity. Maybe they also don't have the legal mandate to do that. We have Githua Wakoine who says, yes, and this is, I think, answering to whether IEBC has a chip in terms of security. Yes, and the government must give IEBC fully support. There's Mawira who says, I don't think so. IEBC sets the rules but does not have the capacity to enforce them. Police needed to assist.
All right, and of course, a lot of questions as to with regard to this pre-election violence, and like you mentioned, where the IEBC really just has the mandate of setting the rules. The police force has the mandate of enforcing and ensuring that those rules are actually implemented. But let's move on to another topic, and this is the big NASA retreat at the coast. The top NASA principals, of course, are meeting there, and there's a lot of speculation whether they're meeting to finally announce the flag bearer, whether they're meeting to choose the day when they will announce the flag bearer. There's also been a lot of leaked reports that the technical committee is now favoring a Raila-Kalonzo duo, something that the other principals have described as pure propaganda. From a Jubilee standpoint, what do you think will come out of this retreat?
We have said quite often, again and again, that there will be no NASA without Raila as a candidate. Every step he makes is going to be a candidate. If there's no NASA, he'll run through ODM. And whenever the NASA principals squabble, you always see him organize something ODM somewhere, a rally, just to show that he can go alone. So he is the flag bearer. The question is, what will be the fallout in the running mate? If you leave Kalonzo out, then you kiss goodbye to the canvas. If you do not give Honorable Wetangula or Honorable Mudavadi, the lawyer community are likely to be divided. This is where the question is. And
so
this is what we are going
mate
to discuss, to see that if we give so and so, what will happen. Eventually, I think they have settled on the candidate. And that's why Honorable Kalonzo was making so much noise.
And I mean, of course, we've seen Jubilee take the stand that whichever candidate that comes out to battle it out with President Uhuru Kenyatta is really no mean feat for them. They're prepared for whichever candidate that will take them on. Is that still the stance Jubilee has?
Jubilee has no choice. Whatever candidate they bring, the Jubilee will deal with that candidate. What I said last time, and I repeat, the way you tackle Honorable Raila will be different from the way you tackle Mudavadi candidature. Is different from the way you will tackle Kalonzo candidature or Wetangula candidature. That is why we are anxious to know who, so that we realign our armory and our resources to be on the point so as to defeat them one round. Round one.
All right. So as that the decision is being made of the flag bearer, of course, we're still running up to the election. 119 days left. Yes. Just yesterday, we had IEBC mention that the Kenya Integrated Electoral Management System, KIMS, will be in the country by the end of this week. Yes. And IEBC, of course, has been falling back in terms of its timelines and what's supposed to do before the election. Your thoughts on this system and whether we're on the right track in terms of timelines?
If this has to be mapped out throughout the country, we are behind schedule. Luckily, we have the manual system as a backup.
Which Jubilee really campaigned for?
Jubilee was seeing ahead. CORD people, I think they must have been, the NASA people, they must have talked to the Russians.
But there's been claims that Jubilee has been trying to frustrate this process, trying to frustrate the IEBC procurement process, just so IEBC can lag behind, just so they can sort of give credibility as to why they wanted that manual system.
Who actually went to court? Is it Jubilee?
The opposition did.
And they fear Jubilee so much that everything Jubilee. They are the ones who have been frustrated. They chased out the commissioners. Then they brought in these new ones. And then they don't want the register to be cleaned. They went to court. They don't want this. Jubilee is trying to ensure that when they are eventually defeated, they have no basis for claiming that there has been rigging. But every corner you hear them talk, it is like Jubilee has already rigged. They have rigged these elections. That is a big lie. Falling on timelines has something to do with the removal of the IEB commissioners, new people settling in, the intricate tendering procedures, and so on. Those are known facts. They work in all government institutions, those that have to follow up the tendering procedures. So this is one area where, as a nation, we would have all come together to ensure that we meet this timeline. And where there are difficulties, we have a common ground, both opposition and government, on how to move forward. Blame game will not work. It will just lead us to chaos, because when NASA loses, as they are going to lose, the first thing they're going to say is that there's been stealing. And then when they say they're stealing, there are some diehards who would say, now let's go out and fight. But also NASA has a responsibility to ensure that things are done well.
All right, finally, final comment. We're heading into a very politically charged seasons. Party primaries are here. What do you expect from both Jubilee and NASA?
I expect there will be heat, both sides. Even Jubilee will see sporadic violence here and there, NASA here and there. But I would urge my fellow Kenyans, it is not worth losing a limb for anybody seeking any political seat. It is not worth.
And that is a good point to stop it on. Lawyer Ambrose Oweda there, bringing us to a close. On the way, it is a conversation that is also going on social media, where we're asking you whether IEBC has the capacity to stop pre-election violence. We thank you for giving us your thoughts and comments. We take a short break here. Remember, for those on KTN Home, Life and Style is coming up next. But for those who remain with us on KTN News, we do have news updates coming up, and then a sports chat later on. We'll be discussing the doping scandal and what that means for the Kenya athletics field.